I'm Larry Mezzi. Welcome back to Jersey Matters. Remember back in 2010 when Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, gave $100 million to Newark schools, and then that money was matched by some philanthropist? So what happened to the $200 million? You might have wondered that question. Dale Russakoff certainly wondered the question. She is the author of the book, The Prize, which details exactly what happened to that money. So what happened to that money?
Well, the money went in a lot of different directions. Almost 100 million, actually 89 million, was set aside for new contracts for teachers and principals that were supposed to hold teachers and principals accountable for student progress and make it much easier to get rid of the weakest ones and vastly reward the best ones in hopes of drawing a whole new cadre of people into education.
Well, stop for 1 second. 89 million went to that?
Well, it was set aside to...
Oh, set aside for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, 50 million actually did go to a new teacher's contract. But the rest, the principal's money was never spent because they haven't yet concluded negotiations on a contract. So that money's still sitting there. That's almost $20 million.
And it's accruing interest? It's growing?
I don't know what they've got it invested in, to tell you the truth. But there's $20 million that is just sitting there and will probably be spent on something else. But the teacher's contract, interestingly, of that 50 million, $31 million went to paying back pay for teachers because the union refused to come to the table unless the teachers got the raises they hadn't gotten for the last 3 years when they were working without a contract. And so in order just to get them to the table, Mark Zuckerberg wrote a $31 million check.
Is that on top of the 100 million, or
No,
was that part of the 100 million?
That was part of it.
Okay,
and that
so
was of the $50 million that went to a teacher's contract, 31 million went to that. And when they had hoped to have a dramatic amount of merit pay for teachers, only $6 million went to merit pay. And the merit pay amounts were much smaller than anticipated.
Well, I'm no math major, but that's a whole lot of money left. Where did that money go? Okay,
well, there was 60 million that went to charter schools. They decided to have a big investment in expanding the city's charter schools. And so there's now 40% of Newark kids in charter schools, whereas there had been only 20%. They doubled the enrollment in charters. And then there were $20 million went to consultants, consulting firms that were brought in to lead what they called a systems change in the district, you know, to have new systems for recruiting teachers, for evaluating teachers, a new system for enrollment, figuring out how to enroll kids in both charters and district schools. So there was a lot of management consulting that they invested in and hoping that this was all seen as transformational. The truth is that while the kids in the charter schools probably are better off because the Newark charters, unlike charter schools nationally, which do not outperform district schools, in Newark they do. They have a couple of very, very strong charter networks where kids are doing better than the district school kids. But the majority of kids are still in the traditional public schools, the district schools, 60% of them. And those schools, the performance in the kindergarten through 8th grade schools has gone down. Because when you expand charters, you have to shrink the district schools. So they've had to close and consolidate district schools, lay off staff, move thousands of children into schools that they hadn't been in the past. And the result is that there's been a lot of stress and chaos in district schools, and children's, in a couple of grades, reading scores have gone down 9 points.
Why did he choose Newark in the first place?
Well, he chose Newark because of Cory Booker, who at the time was the mayor of Newark and is a very persuasive person. And Booker and Christie had decided in 2010, well, actually in 2009, after Christie was elected, that the governor controlled the schools in Newark and had ever since 1995. The state had taken them over because of massive corruption, terrible failure, and just dysfunction in the operation of the district. And they had never returned them to the city. And so the governor had total authority legally over the Newark schools. And Booker had approached Christie and said, let's use your authority and my influence as the mayor to completely turn this district around. Let's bring in charter schools, let's close the failing district schools, let's change the way teachers are rewarded, let's reward the best ones and punish the worst ones, and let's take all the ideas of the education reform movement, plant them in Newark, and show people that you can change a district this way. So Christie was all for it. All they needed was a philanthropist, and Booker happened to find out through his very, very elaborate network of contacts that Mark Zuckerberg, at age 26, really wanted to make his first gift as a philanthropist, and they wanted to make it in education.
And then he went out and convinced him. I'll tell you what, I have so many more questions, and I can listen to you talk about this for a while, but we're out of time. However, I think it'd be fascinating to do a follow-up book to find out what they did in San Francisco and compare it to Newark. I hope you do that.
I think it'll be different.
For my follow-up questions, I'll just have to read the book. It's called The Prize: Who's in Charge of America's Schools, by Dale Russakoff. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was great to talk to you.
It was good to talk to you. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the fire in New Jersey that made headlines across the nation and resulted in a new building code that experts don't like that much, when we return.